Welcome to
and take a
Gaming
watch.
Instincts. Today, I'll be reviewing Assassin's Creed Shadows
This voice sounds so familiar, man. I've never heard it before.
on PC. I've had the pleasure of playing this game over the past 2 weeks, and now it's time to finally talk about the next big entry in the Assassin's Creed franchise. A big thank you to Ubisoft for this opportunity.
First and foremost, this game already, let me back this up a second. This looks so damn beautiful, okay? It's the first thing I want to talk about. Holy crap.
Talk about the next big entry in the Assassin's Creed franchise. A big thank you to Ubisoft for this opportunity. So, did Ubisoft deliver on the most requested historical setting? Has this new entry taken the franchise to the next level? Are these new characters destined to be remembered forever?
Oh my god.
Or is this just another example of Ubisoft's downward spiral and a disappointing step for Assassin's Creed as a whole? I am here to answer all of your
I guess we will find out, right? It's actually at 4K. Yeah, I lowered it to 1440. I don't want to throw it in 4K because I don't know what's gonna happen if I do. Because sometimes the video might work, sometimes the video won't work. My PC is not the best PC of PCs. It can do 4K, but with me also like streaming and whatnot, I don't know. If I put it in there, it may not go so well.
burning questions in this full in-depth review. Be sure to stick around for the entire video to catch my final score rated on a 10-point scale. Here at Gaming Instincts, our reviews are always honest and unbiased, and we break them down into storyline, gameplay, graphics, art style,
And that's what we love, baby. Unbiased. That's what we love.
Performance, and of course, a final conclusion with the final verdict. If you are looking for the latest video game reviews
Got
and
his
the
ass.
hottest trending gaming industry news, make sure to visit our website over at
Ooh, okay.
gaminginstincts.com and subscribe.
Okay. So we get the assassin, or the assassination, and then we pull him in the back too to hide him.
Subscribe to this YouTube channel.
I like
Without
that.
further ado, let's begin. First things first, let's talk about what Assassin's Creed actually is. In case you've never played it before, Assassin's Creed is Ubisoft's flagship and most popular franchise. Originally released back in 2007 during the PS3 and 360 era, it's a sci-fi themed series where a character uses a machine called Animus, which allows them to relive the memories of their ancestors. However, the key hook is that these memories always take place in a real-world historical periods. Assassin's Creed 2, for example, took place during the Italian Renaissance, while Assassin's Creed 3 was set in the 18th century colonial America, and the list goes on. As you can probably tell,
amazing
Assassin's Creed
games.
Shadows is all about feudal Japan. For nearly 2 decades, fans have been begging Ubisoft to create an Assassin's Creed game set in this period, and now that time has finally come.
Finally doing
the
it.
Question is this everything fans have been dreaming of in a Japanese-themed Assassin's Creed? Let's find out.
Wow. Wow. That assassination was so clean.
Is this everything fans have been dreaming of in a Japanese-themed
That was so clean.
Assassin's Creed? Let's find out. First, let's talk a bit about the storyline and characters in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Don't worry, I won't be showing or discussing any major plot points in this video. This will just be a short spoiler-free overview to give you a sense of what to expect from the story before you dive in yourself. Plot has always been a key pillar of the Assassin's Creed franchise, so it's important that I cover it to a certain extent in this review. Assassin's Creed Shadows is set in 16th century Japan toward the end of the Sengoku period, and just like every Assassin's Creed game, it focuses on the ongoing conflict between the Assassin Brotherhood and the Templar Order. It's the same song and dance the franchise has followed since day one, but honestly, that's perfectly fine. It's what fans expect and want from an Assassin's Creed game. For the past few years, it's become a trend for Ubisoft to introduce multiple protagonists in Assassin's Creed games, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is no exception. This time, there are 2 main characters who take the center stage. Fujibayashi Naoya, who is a kunoichi, a female shinobi. In other words, a shinobi is essentially what most people would recognize as a ninja. Then there's Yasuke, an African samurai inspired by the real historical figure of the same name. Both characters play key roles in the storyline of Assassin's Creed Shadows. One thing worth noting is that for roughly the first 12 hours, you primarily play as Naoya. During this time, the game focuses heavily on her backstory, her personality, and her goals. Later, you'll learn about Yasuke, how their paths cross, and how they eventually become allies. From that point on, both characters become fully playable, and you can switch between them on the fly. It's
that's
a
cool.
Noticeably different approach to dual protagonists compared to previous titles in the series.
I like
Assassin's
that.
Creed Odyssey, which was released in 2017 and
Oh my god, Odyssey. This is the opening scene of the game, of course. Wow. What an amazing game.
You could choose to play as either Cassandra or Alexios, and that choice locked in your character and gender for the entire game.
And I played Cassandra.
from start to finish. However, they
Such
played
a
exactly the
badass.
same, aside from some minor dialogue differences and of
Yep.
course their gender. There wasn't
Yep.
much that set them apart. In Assassin's Creed Shadows, Yasuke and Naoya offer completely different playstyles when it comes to both traversal and combat. I'll go into much greater detail on how they differ later in the review when we get to the gameplay section.
I like that. I think that's pretty cool. I feel like that gives the game a little bit more replayability, right? Like maybe you want to run the story only with her, and then you want to do it again with only him, or you just kind of mix and match between the two depending on how you're feeling that day. You know, I think that's cool.
This particular Assassin's Creed game leans heavily into cutscenes and storytelling. If you're into games like The Witcher 3 and don't mind a slower start, this will be right up your alley. However, if you're hoping to jump straight into the action and start assassinating Templars within the first hour, that will not be the case, unless you decide to skip cutscenes, which I strongly advise against. Doing so...
Wasn't Ghost like that? Ghost of Tsushima? Wasn't it pretty also pretty like heavy with story, you know? It wasn't like how Elden Ring is when you can just kind of hop in and go for it. I mean, I don't mind the stories. I think it's pretty cool.
Would ruin the build-up, excitement, and anticipation that the plot delivers. One thing I want to mention about the cutscenes is that they are locked at 30 frames per second, no matter how powerful your PC is. You'll also notice black bars at the top and bottom of the screen. Ubisoft chose this approach to emulate a cinematic feel, similar to how movies and TV shows are typically presented. This might turn off some players, as the shift from 30 FPS cutscenes to 60 FPS gameplay, or vice versa, can feel a bit jarring. That said,
I get it, but we see it a lot, you know what I mean? Like, take, for example, Monster Hunter Wilds, you had your 60 frame stories where they look beautiful, and then it goes back to the cutscene, and the person doesn't look as amazing as they did while the cutscene was happening. But it happens. It happens. I personally don't mind things like that.
Doesn't impact the gameplay itself, so personally it didn't bother me. Still, I thought it was worth pointing out. Throughout your journey in Assassin's Creed Shadows, you'll encounter a wide variety of characters. Some are side characters who offer their own quests, while others might seem harmless and innocent, only to turn out to be something else entirely. I won't spoil who they are or show them in this video, but just know that the game is packed with twists and turns around nearly every corner.
I like that a lot.
Others might catch you off guard. It really depends on your intuition and how you read each character, especially when they say certain things or speak with suspicious tones. To be honest, this is where...
Now, can you destroy any character that you want in the game? Let's say you're walking and things are going a little bit sus, and you're like, nah, I'm done with you, son.
Assassin's Creed Shadows shines the most for me in terms of its storyline. There are plenty of moments where you'll find yourself saying things like, I knew this was the asshole behind all of this. Or, on the flip side, well, I guess this person was innocent after all. It honestly feels like there's a bit of Among Us energy in the game, and for me, that's a lot of fun, finally piecing things together and figuring out who's really who. Before we dive into the gameplay section, I want to quickly touch on Naoya's and Yasuke's storylines, and don't worry, I won't spoil anything. In my humble opinion, Naoya is a fantastic character. I won't go into what happens to her at the start or any specific point in the game, but I will say that I quickly became attached to her and found myself genuinely curious about what would happen to her next. Ubisoft did a great job making her the driving force of the story. The deeper I got into the game, the more answers I uncovered, but at the same time, new questions kept popping up. That's what makes Naoya such an engaging and well-rounded protagonist. As for Yasuke, I'm afraid I can't say the same. If I'm being brutally honest, I kind of wish Naoya had been the sole protagonist in this entire game, but it feels like Ubisoft wanted to be overly ambitious with their storytelling by introducing a second figure, one that you don't even get to know much about until after the first 12 hours. At first, I was curious about Yasuke, but as the story progressed, his inclusion started to feel forced. His cutscenes felt dull, and honestly, I just wanted to skip them. After Ubisoft set up such an amazing arc with Naoya, I couldn't bring myself to care about this guy at all. I am sorry, but that's just how I felt.
Hey, that's completely understandable. If I'm being 1000% honest here, I'm probably just gonna play her. You know, if I'm just being honest here. And this is not even getting into like understanding who the characters are and whatever. I'm a big fan of playing like a woman character who's also like a badass. It's just so fucking cool to do that, you know? So I'm already probably just gonna solely play her. I know you were just talking about how you have to play him in certain situations, but when it comes to the point where I have to choose in between the two, I'm just keeping a buck, man. I'm probably just gonna play as her.
Pretty confident that deep down, Ubisoft always intended for Naoe to be the true protagonist of Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yep.
The one who actually matters from start to finish. You'll probably see this for yourself when you play through the story. My issue with Yasuke is that I just didn't find him interesting at all. He's just kind of there, doing his own thing with his own agenda. Honestly, it would have been much better if Yasuke had his own dedicated story in a future standalone DLC, a season pass, or even his own game entirely. His introduction right after those first 12 fantastic hours with Naoe completely disrupted the pacing for me. Now, instead of staying focused on Naoe, who
I wonder if that's going to throw a lot of people off. You know, like they're going to be playing the game so heavy with her and enjoying who she is, and then they switch over to him and they're like, nah, this ain't it, and then they just stop playing the game.
Actually cared about, I also had to juggle Yasuke's storyline, and it felt like a chore. Another issue I had is that some main quest
God, I hate when that happens.
to play as Yasuke because they're tied directly to his story. This means you don't have the option to stick with Naoe, and as I mentioned earlier, they play completely differently. Yasuke's gameplay is the polar opposite of what Assassin's Creed is traditionally known for, and that's a major problem.
It makes sense. I mean, he's big and broody.
I've told you more than enough about what to expect without spoiling anything. Let's shift gears and dive into the gameplay. The overall gameplay flow of Assassin's Creed Shadows is mostly positive, at least when you are not being forced to play as Yasuke, but I'll get into that more later.
What a throw.
When it comes to stealth and exploration, I think it's a big improvement over what Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Assassin's Creed Odyssey offered. The stealth mechanics and exploration here feel far more refined and satisfying. One of the biggest complaints fans had...
Dude, these assassinations are so freaking cool already. We've only seen, what, 3? I need to play this game already.
Was how bloated and overwhelming they felt, especially when trying to explore every nook and cranny on the world map and complete everything the game threw at you. I'm happy to say, for the most part, Assassin's Creed Shadows has eliminated that bloat. The game world still feels sizable, but it's far more focused and meaningful this time around. Assassin's Creed Shadows is still a large game, but it feels more contained and much better balanced in terms of content. The world map doesn't feel nearly as overwhelming as it did in the past entries. Honestly, my favorite part of this game is the exploration. It just feels more fun and natural.
I thought you were laying that over, and then a fire was going to happen. That's what I thought was going to happen right there.
Compared to previous titles. For example, one activity has you hunting down samurai daoshai hidden within castles. Once you find and slay all of them, you will unlock a chest that usually contains valuable gear for your character. And of course, the classic viewpoints return. You'll climb into a high vantage point, survey the area, and then leap into a bale of hay or a body of water. Speaking of treasures and gear, they are much more...
my goodness. Is this just absolutely beautiful? Holy crap.
This time around compared to previous games. You no longer have to run around the entire world map collecting pointless hidden treasures just to complete a checklist. That's been kind of removed. You'll still come across regular chests, but they mostly contain things like resources for your hideout or cosmetics. Thankfully, there aren't nearly as many of them this time around, and most are found naturally through regular exploration rather than relying on a map to track them all down. I really appreciate that change. There were also times when I stumbled across random NPCs who attacked me, and after taking them out, I discovered they were actually tied to a major side quest I hadn't even found or accepted yet. Turns out they were part of some kind of unknown organization in the game. It completely caught me off guard, but in a good way. I always appreciate emergent and surprising gameplay like this. It's a big plus in my book. For your travels,
that's pretty
you'll have a trusty steed to help you get from place to place. However, I did run into some issues with the horse, mostly related to its handling. There were times when it would randomly bump into objects, even when I was clearly following a straight road, and
kind of sounds like the Sacred, if we're being honest, right there.
Turning around sometimes felt clunky and unintuitive. It didn't happen all the time, but when it did, it was pretty frustrating. Honestly, if my destination wasn't too far, I usually just chose to run there on foot instead. I only really used the horse for longer distances, around 1,000 meters or so. There are also character-specific side activities you'll come across. For example, if you're playing as Naoe, you might find special locations where she performs a meditative activity known as Kujikiri. It's essentially a minigame where she sits down to meditate, and you need to follow the rhythm by pressing the buttons that appear on the screen in time with the beats. The longer you meditate, the harder it gets as the buttons and circles eventually disappear from the screen. Surprisingly, it's a pretty relaxing minigame, and if you complete it successfully, you'll earn a knowledge point, which can be used to unlock new abilities in Naoe's mastery tree. Some Kujikiri sessions will even unlock side quests that dive into Naoe's past, including her relationship with her father. In my opinion, this is a great implementation of side content.
I saw you miss one.
Is generally fun and has meaningful backstory to a character you're already invested in. You'll also come across temples during your exploration where you'll need to find hidden pages. Collect all the pages and you'll be rewarded with knowledge points. On top of that, there are shrines scattered throughout the world.
Oh my god, is that a cat? 10 out of 10 game already. I'm sold.
Where you can stop and pray to pay your respects, and yes, these also grant knowledge points. The point I am making here is simple. Exploration is key to progressing your character, and honestly, I really like that. The Kujikiri activity is exclusive to Naoya, while Yasuke has his own unique side activities such as kata and horse archery. In kata, Yasuke practices and learns combat moves by following button prompts. In horse archery. In kata, Yasuke practices and learns combat
just seeing this weapon. Just seeing this weapon that he's using, I already don't want to use him at all. Not one bit. I prefer, very fast weapons. Being very evasive. This guy does not look like he is by any means.
Following button prompts.
It's Assassin's Creed, right? Not
in horse archery,
Elden Ring.
You'll eliminate targets while your horse moves automatically on a set path. These activities are a nice way to break up the pace and give you something different to do outside of the main storyline, while also granting knowledge points so you can progress your character. If you want to max out your characters as quickly as possible, make sure to complete all the side activities you come across. Thankfully, they're relatively short and don't overstay their welcome, so they never feel like a chore. Now let's talk about the masteries. They're essentially the skill trees or specs for your characters. Naoya has a total of 6. Katana, Kasarigama,
oh my lord.
Assassin. As Naoya, you'll have access to 3 different weapons. First, there's the katana, your standard traditional Japanese blade. Then there's the Kusarigama, a sickle and chain weapon that can slash, cut, disarm, and pull enemies.
They need to add that weapon into Monster Hunter.
And even knock them unconscious. It can be used both up close and from a distance. Finally,
just saying.
There's the Tento, a dual-wield weapon best used from behind for stealth kills. It's probably the closest thing to a classic ninja weapon. And yes, it comes with an iconic hidden blade attachment that fans of the Assassin's Creed series will recognize immediately. The variety of weapons here is quite nice, and as you progress through the game, you'll eventually unlock all the abilities tied to each of your weapons' masteries. The tools mastery focuses on items like kunai, smoke bombs, and other gadgets. The shinobi tree leads into your ninja abilities, such as vaulting, using a grappling hook, deflecting attacks, and performing kicks. And then of course there's the assassin's tree, which is centered around stealth and boosting your assassination damage. If you're aiming for the classic Assassin's Creed experience and want to play purely stealthy from start to finish, this is the mastery I'd recommend investing in.
And that's exactly how I'm gonna play the game. Like full stealth.
Wait, that said, many of the masteries
at least that's what I say until I start playing it, and then I make different decisions. But right off the rip, right now, that's how I would play this game.
Each other really well. For example, combining points into Tanto and Assassin makes for great synergy since they naturally go hand in hand. As for Yasuke, he also has 6 different masteries along with access to 5 distinct weapons: the long katana, naginata, kanabo, and teppo. The long katana is simply a longer Japanese blade. The naginata is a 2-handed spear-like weapon, more like a halberd that excels at area of effect attacks, making it ideal when you're surrounded by multiple enemies due to its wide attack range. Then there's the kanabo, a massive 2-handed blunt weapon. It's extremely slow, but if you land a hit, it's devastating. It can knock enemies away and even slow them down. Next up is the teppo, a front-loaded flintlock rifle with a much longer range than the bow. It's a fun weapon to use, but it's loud and feels like the complete opposite of what you'd expect in an Assassin's Creed game. And finally, you have the bow, which can serve as a long-range assassination tool. You can even spec it to apply poison buildup, which I thought was a nice touch. In conclusion, there's a ton of variety here when it comes to combat, and I do commend Ubisoft for that. However, this is where my issue starts to kick in. Yasuke is so overpowered, it's honestly ridiculous and not in a good way. His gameplay is what I'd call loud and dumb. After spending around 12 hours sneaking around as Naoya, the moment you unlock Yasuke, the game shifts into a full-on melee brawler, and in my opinion, is just silly. His arsenal is so versatile and powerful that if you're just trying to power through the story, there's barely...
I love how you're just destroying this dude in this corner, and everyone's just like watching in the background.
His arsenal is so
These other 2 people are like, I don't know if I really want to go in there right now.
Versatile and powerful that if you're just trying to power through the story, there's barely a reason to go back to playing as Naoya. Even boss fights become...
What was that hit?
That if you're just trying to power through the story, there's barely a reason to go back to playing as Naoya.
He got hit with a Sparta 300 kit, and his ass went flying. That's crazy.
Even boss fights become much easier when you're using Yasuke. He has a much larger health pool, and taking over castles becomes a complete joke, especially if you spec into his lifesteal ability, which lets him regain health after every enemy kill. His kicks are ridiculously powerful and can send enemies flying. And yes, you can even spec his kicks to launch larger enemies too, which is just comical. On top of that, if you see a door, you can simply charge into it and break it down like a bull. While some players might find Yasuke's superhuman abilities and brawler playstyle fun, I
guess I get it, right? With you saying it like that, I guess I get why people would enjoy this character, because there are people who do like the more like brute, straightforward strength approach, right? In games, right? I get it. Like your people, we're talking about WoW earlier, like your people who are running your warrior classes, right, where you're just kind of strong and just kind of running everyone over, right? So I can understand like why some people may like that. I can get that.
I find it insulting to the Assassin's Creed fan base that Ubisoft allow,
and that's what I was gonna say too, but that's not like Assassin's Creed at all, like not at all.
Something like this into the game. There's nothing assassin about Yasuke at all, maybe besides his bow, but playing as him feels like stepping into an entirely different game, where the character is just a non-stop violent barbarian. And yes, I know some people will say, well, just play as Naoe instead. And guess what? That's exactly what I did for the majority of the game. Aside from the missions that
kick is so funny.
Well, just play as Naoe instead. And guess what? That's exactly
oh my lord.
Aside from the missions that force you to play as Yasuke due to story requirements. To me, Yasuke is a complete detriment to the game, both from a narrative and gameplay perspective. Like I said earlier, he should have had his own spotlight, maybe as a part of a future DLC, a season pass, or even his own standalone game, or better yet, he should have been part of a completely different IP, because he has none of the core traits of an assassin. And yes, I get it, Ubisoft wanted to deliver the power fantasy of playing as a samurai instead of an assassin, and that's exactly what they did with Yasuke. The funny thing is, Ubisoft already delivered this kind of a fantasy years ago with For Honor, which still gets plenty of support and updates to this day. For those
oh my god, dude. I tried playing For Honor with my brother, and I love the game, right? I love the game. But I was so bad at it. There's so many like sweaty people who play For Honor. I love the game though. It was very, very, very fun. I wonder if it's like if they still have like a pretty big fan base. I'm sure they probably do. But we used to play it. I don't know. I don't have like a lot of hours in it, but it was a fun ass game.
Who do not know, For Honor is another Ubisoft title where you can play as different types of warriors from a variety of cultures, including samurai. So I am not sure why they felt the need to shoehorn samurai gameplay into an Assassin's Creed game. Regardless, I feel Yasuke was a waste of resources and development time. That energy could have been better spent focusing on other aspects of the game. One last thing I'll mention about Yasuke is that exploring the world while playing as him is virtually impossible. For example, he doesn't have a grappling hook like Naoe, and he can't even climb towers to reach viewpoints. In reality, the entire exploration system becomes unplayable if you stick with Yasuke. Naoe is the only one who can fully explore the world. She's lighter, smaller, and much more agile, and has the necessary tools for climbing and navigating the environment. This makes Yasuke useful for one thing: storming castles and killing guards to complete objectives, or breaking down a few doors if that's
and like playing the entire game. You know what I mean?
Your thing. Playing as Naoe just feels much more true to the identity.
Oh, they did just release it in person?
Are blast to use, especially the Tento.
Maybe I'll check it out.
Rigama is great too, but it requires more patience and a bit of practice to master. It's trickier, but not in a bad way. When it comes to stealth, I think it's very well done here. You can even equip gear that boosts your damage at night.
That's what we love to see right there. That is what we love to see. Also, again, put that weapon in Monster Hunter,
which I thought was a cool passive perk. One more gameplay element I want to quickly mention.
If this weapon becomes a Monster Hunter weapon, it is literally the only weapon I would use forever for the rest of my life. I love the switch axe, do not get me wrong. It's my favorite weapon in the game, but if they were ever to bring in I can't pronounce the name properly, but it's like a sickle and chain, right? That's the that's the people who are uneducated, you call it a chain and sickle. But I would use that
is the hideout system, which serves
over
as this
anything.
game's version of real estate. Ubisoft has played around with this concept before, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is no exception. You get a fully customizable space where you can place a variety of buildings, set pieces, and decorations for your hideout.
Ooh, that's
As you
pretty
progress
cool.
through the game, you'll also find cosmetics hidden in chests that can be used to personalize your base. Some buildings even serve gameplay functions like the Forge, which allows you to upgrade your gear. It's a neat addition if you ask me, but to be honest, I kind of forgot it even existed. I was only reminded of it whenever I unlocked new cosmetics while exploring castles and opening treasure chests. It's not a major part of the gameplay, it's more of a side customization feature than anything else. I had no problem progressing through the game without.
I like that. I like how they don't force you to do that. I really like that. That's awesome. Like, if you have the time and you want to put the time in to make your house all cool and dope or whatever, you can, but you don't have to. Like, you're not forced to do that. I like that.
Upgrading my gear, or even using the Forge in the hideout. You'll find plenty of gear naturally as you level up. That said, if you enjoy customization features or player housing systems, there's definitely some fun to be had here, but for me,
I do. I played a lot of The Sims, okay? A lot of The Sims, okay? Sims 2 was probably like the biggest W of the Sims franchise, but I do love it. I love customization.
Exploring the world map and seeing what's out there. After all, no one's going to see my hideout unless I take screenshots and post them on social media. Overall, I enjoyed the gameplay in Assassin's Creed Shadows, but I really wish Yasuke wasn't.
It looked like he ran from him.
And post them on social media. Overall, I enjoyed.
Look, he's running behind him. My boy heard those footsteps.
Gameplay in Assassin's Creed.
He said, "Get me out of here!"
But I really wish Yasuke wasn't part.
And then he saw his homies. So he was like, "Oh shit, I forgot. I actually need to fight."
Part of it at all. He completely ruins the pacing and it feels like he was shoehorned in. To be fair, Ubisoft at least gives you the option to choose who to play for the most of the game, which helps. Without that choice, it could have been much worse. But at the same time, it could have been much better if they had focused all their resources and development on other gameplay aspects and just let Nowhere be the sole protagonist. They could have created more activities centered around Nowhere, or added more interesting
OG Sims was fun. Hell yeah.
Yasuke doesn't make the world feel deeper. If anything, he detracts from gameplay that was already solid in the first 12 hours. Sorry, Ubisoft, but this was a major misstep. With a storyline and game.
Like I said, I won't play him, like, unless I'm kind of forced to. But I can see why people would like that kind of style. The broody samurai, the power. I get it.
Gameplay out of the way, let's talk about the presentation of Assassin's Creed Shadows, including its visuals, audio, and performance. First and foremost, this game is absolutely stunning when running in maximum settings. From what I understand, Ubisoft built this on their updated Anvil engine, and they've done a fantastic job making feudal Japan look and feel alive. I love
it. Is very beautiful.
The lush green landscapes, just taking in the trees and the scenery. There are so many gorgeous vistas and small details to admire. And don't even get me started on the weather effects. They're so well done that I could practically feel the breeze on my face. The rain looks incredible too, especially.
I wonder if the PS5 controller, because I'm going to play it on PS5, because if I try and run this on my PC would probably explode. But I wonder, because they have like the synth setting or whatever the hell it is in the bottom part here, and the speaker right there. I wonder if like it comes with different sounds or different noises and sounds. I guess that's the same damn thing. But you get what I'm trying to say.
With ray tracing enabled, creating beautiful reflections all around you. What really blew me away though was the passage of time and how the seasons dynamically change as you play. I was pleasantly surprised that you can experience.
I gotta stop this for a second. Is that blood on the blade? Like you took someone out and then you still have blood on the blade? If that's what that is, that's pretty damn cool.
The entire world map during winter, complete with snowfall. It really adds another layer of immersion to the game. I think my favorite seasons, though, are spring and summer.
Oh, look at that.
Just
beautiful.
Absolutely stunning during those times. And yes, there's also a full day and night cycle.
Those are my favorite times, too. I really like the spring and summer in actual real life, too. I hate winter. It just snowed today where I'm at, and I want to cry. It's literally March, and it's snowing.
affects gameplay. You can now create your own shadows by turning off lights both outside and inside buildings, making stuff more dynamic than ever. After everything I've
that is
experienced
blood.
visually,
That's
I have to
awesome.
say this is the best looking Assassin's Creed game to date if you are able to run it on max settings. However, all that beauty comes at a steep cost. I reviewed the game on a high-end PC running a 4090 RTX GPU paired with a Ryzen 9
That's what I'm saying.
CPU, and I could not maintain a smooth frame rate at an 84K resolution unless I enabled DLSS with frame generation, which I think is kind of unacceptable. Honestly, I shouldn't have to rely on frame generation to hit high frame rates with a top tier.
See, if I was to play this game on my PC, it would look like Tomb Raider on the PS1.
GPU. And yes, I know the 5090 RTX is the latest card on the market, but there's not a massive leap in raw power between it and the 4090. From where I'm standing, this feels like a poor optimization on Ubisoft's part. Maybe there's some CPU bottlenecking going on, but I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, I was disappointed with the game's raw performance on a 4090 RTX, especially when all my other modern games run fine at an 84K without DLSS. And honestly, I don't even want to imagine how poorly this will run on consoles if my high-end PC is already struggling without the help of upscaling and frame generation.
That's fair.
That wraps up performance and visuals, but there's one more thing I wanted to mention about the game's presentation: the main menu. Assassin's Creed Shadows is now part of a new platform called the Animus Hub, formerly known as Assassin's Creed Infinity Hub. Its first iteration makes its debut right here in this title. This brand new main menu now acts as a platform for all Assassin's Creed titles. You can actually jump into a memory of your choice, and in this case, a memory is just Ubisoft's way of referring to an Assassin's Creed game. For example, you can launch Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Origins, Odyssey, Mirage, and of course, Shadows, all directly through the Animus Hub. I actually like how Ubisoft handled this.
What? That's crazy. That's pretty tight.
You no longer need to exit out of one game just to boot up another through the Ubisoft
It's
launcher
worse
or
than
your
Wilds.
console.
That's
I'm
tough.
not sure if they plan to add much all the titles, but going forward, I'd expect new memories to show up here as more games are released.
That's
it's
cool.
a very convenient feature, and in my opinion, a step in the right direction.
That's really cool.
One last thing I want to cover is the sound design in Assassin's Creed Shadows. For me, voice acting is crucial in a game that leans heavily on its story and characters, and I'm happy to say I am pretty satisfied with
and
what's
the music
here. Naoya sounds great, her voice is fitting and not annoying, and comes with an authentic accent. The same goes for Yasuke. Both actors did a solid job bringing their characters to life, and thankfully the rest of the cast, whether it's villains, side characters, or allies, also deliver strong performances. That said, I think the real standout here is the soundtrack. I love the Japanese motif paired with mysterious ambient tones that fit Assassin's Creed vibe perfectly and help make the soundtrack truly memorable.
I don't think people understand how like music can make such a difference in a game, right? Especially if you're playing something like this where they're trying to be very heavy in their traditions. If the music isn't right, man, the vibe isn't right, you know? Same thing with games like Monster Hunter World. When you're hunting these big monsters or getting in these like epic scenes, the music can like help you in those fights, you know what I mean? Like it just feels good. So music plays a very, very, very big role. At least for me. I'm speaking for myself here.
Here, let's take a quick listen.
10 out of 10. This is some good music. I love I love how the music is so like peaceful and relaxing, but you're just like whooping ass in the background.
The only odd thing I noticed in terms of sound design is that in certain sequences, some strange licensed Japanese pop music kicks in. I'm not exactly sure why Ubisoft chose to include this, but it completely killed the vibe and feels totally unnecessary. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about once you play the game.
Oh my god.
Assassin's Creed Shadows is
Look
a good
how
game,
beautiful
but it
this
could be
is.
much better. The foundation is strong and there are plenty of good ideas here. Visually, the game is stunning, the stealth mechanics are well executed, and the exploration is genuinely enjoyable. However, after that 12-hour mark, when Yasuke was fully introduced and unlocked, the game started to lose its charm.
Dropped a little bit, yeah.
Enjoying the focus on Naoya, and then Yasuke gets thrown into the mix for the rest of the story and gameplay. I just didn't care about his character or his storyline, and being forced to
That's
the
fair.
quest missions where you have no choice but to play as him became a frustrating disruption to the otherwise solid pacing. On top of that, his gameplay doesn't feel like it belongs in an Assassin's Creed game at all, as I previously said. Honestly, this could have been close to a masterpiece if Ubisoft had stuck with Noé as the sole focus. To be fair, the game still has more good than bad, but the rough spots like the poor optimization definitely drags it down. On top of that, Ubisoft continues its trend of greed by adding microtransactions and allowing you to buy some really
yeah,
badass
baby.
armor, complete with insane
Oh yeah. What is a game without microtransactions? What is a game? It just does. It's not a thing, man. You have to have them. Unfortunately, we will continue to see this trend in every single game.
stats that actually affect gameplay. And since there are 2 playable characters, that means double the armor and weapons to tempt you to spending even more money. Oh, and yes, you can even unlock the entire map by paying real cash.
Yeah, that's wild. That is wild right there. That is crazy. Instead of exploring and checking the map out, you can just throw some money on there, man, and you can see the entire thing. That's crazy.
In previous titles, you could unlock maps using in-game currency, but now we're in an era where you either explore it yourself or pay up. I get it, game development is expensive these days, but this is a full price.
Not gonna lie, that shit's kind of drippy. I wouldn't pay for it, right? I wouldn't pay for it, but that shit looks cool. And it looks like you have your own separate perks too. Health, crucial damage, vulnerable damage. You kind of pay for perks too. We can consider that pay to win, can't we?
Price $70 game, and all the entries in the series never had this level of monetization until recent times. These microtransactions make it feel like a cheap mobile game knockoff, and it's honestly disappointing. This is also a single player game where you can't even show off your gear to other players online, so I don't see the point of it, other than Ubisoft trying to squeeze more money out of their player base. Normally, I'm fine with spending money on skins, but not in a single player game where it actively makes the gameplay easier.
That's fair.
Level of greed is just ridiculous and honestly pretty pathetic.
That's
I'm
cool.
only okay with buying extras in live service games where other players can actually see your cosmetics.
That's
and
fair.
Where they stay purely cosmetic and the game is mostly free to play. Unfortunately, that is not the case here with Assassin's Creed Shadows. With all that said, Assassin's Creed Shadows is getting a final score of
that's wild.
7 out of 10. It's a good game, and as someone who's been a fan of the series since the very first release back in 2007, there's definitely a lot here to appreciate and enjoy. However, the negatives were too much for me.
With everything you talked about, that's very, very fair. Very fair.
And I had to duck at quite a few points because of them. I really wanted to like Yasuke, but I just couldn't. He felt completely forced into the story and gameplay. Add in the poor PC optimization and the ever-present Ubisoft greed, and well, here we are. However, everything else in this game is fantastic, and I hope there's more of that coming in future titles, assuming that Ubisoft doesn't fall apart with how bad the company is doing right now in terms of their stock. This game would have received an easy 9 out of 10 if Yasuke never existed to begin with, and it would have been a 10 out of 10 if Ubisoft was not so greedy with their goofy, silly store items in a single-player game and poor PC optimization.
I still can't get over the fact that you can buy the map. That is the craziest thing that I've ever... That's crazy.
If I were you, I'd wait a week or so for the game to...
Like, the fun of Assassin's Creed is exploring. Climbing up these places to then get your, your eagle vision or eagle view, whatever the hell it's called, to then see the map and then go to those places. But you could just buy it just outright. That's crazy.
To go on sale to get it at a cheaper price. The Ubisoft titles usually fall in value rather quickly, and you can find them much cheaper. The game will take you a while to finish, probably upwards of 30 to 50 hours, maybe more depending on your pace, and how much of the game you want to complete. Ubisoft had the potential for a standout game, but their greed and baffling choices, chief among them the forced inclusion of Yasuke, undermined the pacing and shattered what could have been a cohesive narrative and fluid gameplay experience. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more video game reviews. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in any way, then make sure to hit like and subscribe with notifications turned on. Peace out and happy gaming.
What a W review. Honestly, everything that you said, the way you broke it down, I can absolutely agree with what you're saying. I haven't played it myself, but the way that you broke it down, it makes a ton of sense. It really, really does. That was a phenomenal review. I probably will play the game myself. Maybe I'll even stream it. Who knows? Looks a lot of fun. I think it's something I could definitely get into. And yeah, we'll have fun playing it. So guys, make sure you sub to Gaming Instincts and make sure you like the video. We will have these posted in the description below.